If these are from the deceased, we may be able to use this with something else that we know. There's a rope wrapped around the shaft of the ceiling fan. There's no mistake, those are bloodstains.
Dr. Kimishima, sorry for the wait. The analysis of the burnt material has come back from the laboratory. Calcium hydroxide was detected in the sample.
Calcium hydroxide? You mean slaked lime?
Yes, small amounts of quicklime were also detected. Quicklime is a substance that releases a great deal of heat when it reacts with water.
Huh, I see. So this was...
But isn't it odd? If the killer wanted to start a fire, there are far easier ways to go about it.
You're right. There must have been a reason for this. It's our job to investigate that, isn't it?
Dr. Kimishima, we've identified the blood on the screw. It's a DNA match with the victim, Dennis Taylor. Why would his blood be there, of all places?
It's simple. What happened was... That's right. It's probably because he touched the murder weapon.
Wait, why would the killer touch that screw with the murder weapon?
He would have to, if the weapon was... Yes, a screwdriver. It was likely used to both loosen and tighten that screw.
I see. Then the screwdriver left the blood on the screw while he was covering his tracks. What's this? It just looks like a loose screw to me.
Think harder, little guy. How was the room when the firefighters arrived at the scene? The entrance was closed, but was it completely inaccessible? That's right. The chain on the door had been attached, but the door itself wasn't locked.
Sorry, but the door only opens about 15 centimeters with the chain attached. I don't even think a small child could get through a space that small.
You're so unimaginative. Flex your mind and think about it. Listen to me. What I'm trying to tell you is... This loose screw tells us everything. With the screw removed, the entire plate on the door can be swiveled around by the doorknob. The plate itself is about 20 centimeters long, so the gap increases to almost 35 centimeters. How big does somebody have to be that he couldn't fit through a space that size?
Oh, I see now. That's more than enough room to get past the door. So the killer just screwed the plate back on from the outside after he left the room then?
I think that's the most likely explanation. But the killer was in plain sight once he was outside the door. He wanted to finish quickly. The killer couldn't completely tighten the screw and left the area as we found it.
Well, that proves that this isn't quite the locked room mystery we thought it was.
Still, this doesn't help us figure out who the killer is. I need to investigate the situation in more detail. That's right. There were 2 different bloodstains left in the deceased's room. Now, which of these bloodstains happened first? That's true, unless the corpse got up and walked over by itself. It's most likely that the deceased died where the first bloodstains were found, and then was carried to the bed afterwards. That would explain why there was such a small amount of blood on the bed itself. Yes, these 2 pieces can be combined into one. The rope wrapped around the ceiling fan is what caused it to break. The question now is why there was a rope around it in the first place. Yes, these pieces of information are hiding an important fact. I didn't notice because the bleeding had stopped completely, but this isn't a bruise. It's a stab wound. This strange pattern here is likely... Yes, that's right. It's indisputable evidence that the weapon was jammed in so deeply that the grip left a bruise. Yes, these do lead the way to a definite truth. Looking at the location of the bruise, the tip of the screwdriver must have pierced Dennis's lung. His lung would then rupture, causing pulmonary emphysema, and he would have suffocated. This explains the spots of hemorrhaging in the corpse's eyes. What actually happened that day is slowly coming to light now. It's true then. This does have to do with the victim. But I wonder why. I get the feeling that there's something very wrong about this. Indeed. At first glance, it doesn't seem like these refer to the same person at all. On the one hand, drug-dealing scum enjoying his life. On the other, a man with suicidal depression. Either one of these clues is false, or there's more to this shady business that I haven't found out. In either case, the truth of the matter is that he was indeed a drug dealer. The fire began near the fallen table. Calcium hydroxide was found in the substance on the floor there. Calcium hydroxide is formed through the reaction of quicklime and water. That reaction creates something else as well. Yes, quicklime releases 65 kilojoules of energy per mole when it reacts with water. This was the method used to start the fire in this room. First, you would place a glass of water on the table. You would also put quicklime around the floor and on the table near the glass. When the table falls over, the hydration heat caused by the reaction would cause a fire. But why would the killer go through such a complicated plan to start a fire? That's right. If all he wanted was a fire, he could have just set something on fire. The killer needed to have a delay until the fire began. That's why he devised a plan that made use of two components. Yes. This trick relied on the ceiling fan and a rope. The killer wrapped one end of the rope around the fan and tied the other to a table leg. When the fan activated according to its timer, the fan wound the rope up, flipping the table over and spilling the water onto the quicklime. However, there's still one basic question left to be asked. Why did the killer have to set the room on fire in the first place? Why go through this extravagant setup to make it happen? The reason for that is exactly. Due to the fact that there was nothing flammable added to the body itself, the culprit never intended for the corpse and the evidence to be destroyed in the fire. Instead, the killer wanted to cause a commotion that would draw attention to the corpse. Now then, why would that be? That's right. By delaying the start of the fire, the plan was to have enough time to create a viable alibi for when the fire began. It's easy. I mean, with this method of misdirection, the culprit could start a fire hours after having left the crime scene entirely. This is the entire truth behind this mysterious arson. Yes, these two can tell us how the murder happened. On the day of the incident, the killer came to the victim's room and stabbed him in the torso. The murder weapon was yes, the screwdriver pierced the victim's lung, causing pulmonary emphysema. This caused respiratory problems due to lung failure. Thus, the cause of death was after this, the killer moved the victim to the bed. This is most likely because indeed, the murderer then arranged the corpse to make the death appear to be a suicide. That is what I believe took place, according to the evidence we have gathered. This is odd. There's something missing that should be here. If the puncture wound in the abdomen is the true cause of death, there should be blood stains and a hole where the screwdriver went through his clothing. Yes, these pieces of information can tell us something. According to Mr. Taylor's friend, on the day of the incident, Dennis had been wearing... That was careless. That's right. He was supposedly wearing a red Portland Jacks t-shirt that day, but when his body was discovered, it was wearing... Yes. His corpse was found wearing a white shirt. In other words, his clothing had changed. And yet, if that was all we know, we couldn't rule out if the deceased had changed his shirt himself. However, if he had, there would still be a discrepancy. Yes. The corpse had a wound that wasn't reflected by the state of the clothing it was wearing. There's only one answer to this puzzle, and that is... Indeed. Whoever had killed Mr. Taylor replaced the shirt he was wearing after killing him. The reason for doing that was... I can't mess around anymore. It's time to get serious. Exactly. It was probably to hide the stab wound and make us believe the cut wrist was the cause of death. The killer staged the suicide in order to mislead us. I see. These two are related. There are no vital reactions to the broken finger. That means the damage occurred after death. Considering that the killer must have changed the victim's clothing after death, I can't make any more rash decisions. I need to think cautiously. That's right. The killer broke the corpse's finger while changing the shirt on the body.
Dr. Kimishima, how's the investigation going?
I've almost uncovered the deception, but the truth hasn't completely been revealed.
I see. So we can't arrest the culprit yet?
That's right. I need conclusive evidence that can help us identify the killer.
The most reliable giveaway would be if we could find a fingerprint at the crime scene. However, only the victim's fingerprints were found when HQ searched the room.
I'm not surprised, considering the lengths the killer's gone to hide his tracks. The murderer was probably wearing gloves while the crime was being committed.
Isn't there anything the killer might have touched?
Something that would require him to take his gloves off? It's hard to think of anything.
Well, the best evidence would be on a hard, slick, inorganic substance. It doesn't matter what size it is.
All we can investigate are the crime scene, the corpse, and what the corpse was wearing. Could there be anything among those items that the killer touched with a bare hand? I'll have to investigate further. Thank you, little guy.
You